We'd like to welcome you to our panel, Defense-Driven Innovation, SNC's Role in Dual-Use Aerospace Manufacturing. We've got an incredible group here, panelists, and an amazing moderator on top of that. There's a lot of momentum we're experiencing in Ohio right now. Ohio is really the only place where at scale you can bring the location where you can dream it, create it, manufacture it, test it, and deliver it to your customer. And there's no more momentum in the sector that's represented right here, which is the military, defense, aerospace, and manufacturing. And I'd like to introduce our panel. First, my name is JP Nassif. I'm the president and CEO of JobsOhio. We're Ohio's private economic development corporation. We work outside of state government, but closely with state government to drive economic value and investment into our great state. Our panelists today, first, furthest from me, retired Lieutenant General John Thompson. General Thompson is an advisor to JobsOhio sector. More importantly, he is a veteran who served our country and also happened to serve, of his many assignments, the largest tenant that acquired weapon and defense systems for the United States Air Force, located at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. General Thompson, thank you for being here. General Tom Owen, Lieutenant General Tom Owen, also retired as a three-star general. Also, of his many assignments during his long 38-year career, were commanding the largest tenant organization at Wright-Patterson, Ohio, that acquires all the various weapon systems and technologies for the United States Air Force. He's been an advisor with JobsOhio since 2012. Yes. And our senior executive, EVP from Sierra Nevada Corporation, John Pyatt, one of the newest members of our Ohio business community, and he's brought with him a lot of excitement and a significant amount of business opportunity, taking advantage of a co-location near the customer with Ohio as a powerhouse manufacturer. Mr. Pyatt, thank you for being here. And our moderator, we're very fortunate to have here all the way from the state of Ohio, the Aerospace and Defense Advisor for Ohio's Governor Mike DeWine. The first time there has been an Aerospace and Defense Advisor at a cabinet level position for the state of Ohio. Joe Zeese. Joe, also a veteran. He's been a commander. He's flown multiple planes. He's been involved in the test community. He's been at the headquarters. He's been in system program offices. He's really an ideal person for the role that he's in, and he will lead a very focused and targeted moderation of this panel. Colonel Zeese, over to you.
Superb. Thank you there, JP. And I want to welcome you to this panel. I want to thank our distinguished panelists first and foremost. Thanks for taking your time out of what is an incredibly busy show to be here. And to our guests, I want to bring the best wishes of Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Tressel. It's exciting. This is an incredibly important sector of the Ohio economy. Not only as it affects Ohio, but as it affects the United States and the world at large. So this is critical stuff that I think we are talking about today. You know, the aerospace and defense industry is really evolving. The industrial base is evolving. I think you're seeing a move away from what has become a monopoly-monopsony type relationship. It's expanding. The defense industrial base, aerospace and defense industry is expanding, and you're seeing an emerging entrepreneurial primes that are coming to the forefront. Sierra Nevada is a prime example of that. And John, thanks for being here and explaining first and foremost, you know, Sierra Nevada, your position as we move forward. But I also want to thank you for being in Ohio. That means so much to us, both in terms of economy, in terms of workforce, but really in terms of what we're about for our nation and the aerospace and defense industry. But you see this expansion really meeting the needs of an expanding industrial base opportunity. What we're talking about today, as JP alluded to, is dual-use technology. That's great because that dual-use technology really accelerates the implementation of advanced capabilities into both the civil and commercial fleet, but also it's a golden parachute. Right, it's a golden parachute between the defense requirements, which evolve, and the commercial requirements, which may provide that opportunity space to develop capabilities while you're waiting for defense to implement them. You know, it's really Ohio's vision that we lead the 21st century in aerospace and defense, building on our real intellectual property gems, the Air Force Research Laboratory in Southwest Ohio, NASA Glenn in Northeast Ohio. Incredibly important. So let's get down to really, I think, what are the basics. John, really the first question to you is, how are companies like Sierra Nevada navigating that balance between commercial agility and the defense-derived requirements that really force the dual-use innovation that we're seeing more and more in the defense industry?
Yeah, thank you, Z, and I really appreciate your opening comments, because it allows us to reflect on what gets us here. It's partnership. It's that partnership between the states that have the vision for what the future is and how they need to cooperate with industry to capitalize on the investments that industry can bring together that helps accelerate that. It's the fuel for what we need to do to better position ourselves for the future. And, you know, historically, SNC, back to your question, historically SNC has really established itself for over 31 years under our current owners, and as a privately held mid-tier defense contractor, we've really excelled at agile innovation, speed of soft through our adoption of commercial technologies into the military market. It's enabled us to serve special mission customers who have been at our forefront for many, many years. It's enabled us to serve those customers and deliver products and technology faster, because speed of need is what we've faced, and particularly in our business, and that says if we can pull commercial technologies, we can militarize those commercial technologies. We have the ability to pull from the commodities. We have the ability to pull from healthy supply chains. We have the ability to pull from the latest and greatest technologies. Matter of fact, in standing here before this, the speaker that was before us was talking a lot about the adoption of commercial technologies, because of the investments are at much higher pace, and the acceleration of the technologies is so much faster that we are leaving opportunities behind if we're not better leveraging commercial technologies. And so this is what we've done for the last 31 years so very well, and as we've grown tremendously, we've seen the demand increase for that adoption of commercial. For example, militarizing commercially available aircraft like the PC-12, which we convert into the U-28, and still in great demand, and it's still in production, it's still in support. This allows us to reduce life cycle cost, allows us to maintain the aircraft. The C-146 is a derivative from the Dornier 328, another commercially available aircraft which has military applications. More recently, we've taken the Bombardier Global 6500. We're converting that to use for the Hades aircraft for the military ISR surveillance for the Army, United States Army, and for some of our international partners. And then, of course, more recently, and probably closer to the topic of Ohio, is what we're doing to take commercially available 747s and digitally convert those 747s into military applications for special mission and critical national security missions. So referencing those brings along the credibility of SNC's experience. It says, this is why we're here. Now, can I tell you why we're in Ohio?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thought maybe
Absolutely.
you might.
Yeah, please.
It goes back to the partnership aspect. When we were searching for where we needed to be, there were a couple of major factors for Ohio. First and foremost, our Air Force customer out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which actually JobsOhio and JP Nassif, who introduced us all, played a very critical role in preserving the integrity and the ability for Wright-Patterson to be where it is and remain where it is today. That also has about 35,000 Air Force and civilian personnel on base there, actively engaged in the execution of their military programs. That relationship, not only with the state, but the relationship with that customer proximity was a key factor in us coming there. Secondarily is the Dayton Development Coalition, the JobsOhio organization, making a commitment to bringing industry in. And the ironic aspect of this is SNC had the opportunity to be the first military aircraft company to come in to bend metal since 1948, in the birthplace of aviation. So, and the Wright brothers had the vision for aviation, which brings us all here to the table and brought you through your service careers. They brought a commercial technology that was militarized over time in order to provide safety and security to our nation. And it's at the heart of what SNC does. And so leveraging those commercial technologies allows us to serve the needs of our customers faster, more efficiently. It allows us to continue to modify and maintain those platforms more efficiently. So the investments that we're making in Ohio, specifically we're building out a master plan footprint for the expansion of aviation services at the Dayton International Airport. We are building not only facilities, but we're looking at additional infrastructure and growth in the state that should help us bring along more jobs and more opportunities, not only for Ohioans, but it also gives an extension of opportunities to our military customers who, after the end of their career, they can step over the flight line. And when we talk about dual use, we've got dual use people in our businesses too, and that's what makes us so special. And so it's an honor and privilege to be a part of this. Our experience is speaking for itself with all the new contracts and programs we win. And as we start to serve the continuing and growing needs of this nation and the global needs to make the world a safer place, SNC is going to build off this partnership. We're going to continue to expand and provide more capabilities.
Yeah, no, that's great, John. Thank you for those comments. You know, really, SNC is the embodiment of a value proposition we've been trying to propagate for years, and really, it's a triangular value proposition that's focused on co-location. It's co-location of the prime, an SNC, with the researcher, an Air Force Research Laboratory, with the acquirer, Air Force Lifecycle Management Center, and that offers an incredibly disruptive value proposition to a Department of Defense that's looking to accelerate major programs. And you're really the embodiment of that, and that's a fundamental vision that the department's been looking for a long time. You know, and it's very interesting your comments on use of commercial technologies into government programs. A lot of times we talk in the vernacular about commercialization of government-derived technologies. Think about it also, and think about the opportunities that avail themselves in terms of governmentalization of commercially derived technologies. There's a lot of examples of that. And I remember when I sat in one of the first airplanes I was doing flight tests in for the Air Force, and the day before I had sat in a beautiful business jet, looking at the controls and displays of the business jet, going, I'm looking at my Air Force airplane, going, these controls and displays don't match up to what the commercial technologies are available at the time. So the ability to accelerate those type of technologies into government operations, government aircraft, government acquisitions is absolutely incredible, you know?
I'm going to throw one more thing in
Yeah,
here.
absolutely,
You
sure.
and I should have just sat up here because
That's good
Tom
stuff,
and
man.
JT are sitting over going, wait a minute.
Wait, what?
We're going to get there, guys. Hang on. Because this part's important.
Yeah.
It picks up on what you just said.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not just the commercial technologies, but it's leveraging the latest in the software development and the latest digital technologies that we
Right,
have.
right.
Because the digitization of these platforms, especially legacy platforms when we're converting them,
Yeah.
this allows us to open up a whole new realm of modification and support. So it's not just taking a commercial system and putting it into military use. Now we're applying the next generation digital tools.
Right.
We're digitally twinning systems, and we're leading a lot of the military's digital twinning activities right now. This allows us to not only make modifications of those platforms, but now we create the new generation of configuration management, and we're also unlocking those systems for future upgrade and use. And I'll say it very unselfishly. Unlocking those systems and breaking vendor lock says that we can now turn that data over to our customer.
Yeah, perfect.
And they can modify and upgrade as the technology, even if we're not there to do the work. This is what's going to help us harness the power of all of industry. And it certainly will continue to exploit the more rapidly changing technologies that are in the commercial market.
Right. Those data rights are absolutely critical. So let me turn to Lieutenant General Owens. And you were commander of the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, Air Force Systems, or the Aeronautical Systems Center before that. Could you talk a little bit about how the technology needs of the defense industrial base really meet what is an evolving national security requirement? And it's hard to keep track of those and hard to line up those evolving needs with the acquisition process.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate the question. I'll talk about a couple aspects of this. First, I want to say we have a phrase in Ohio that Ohio is the birthplace, home, and future of aviation. And I'm seeing that in spades these days with what's going on with the likes of Sierra Nevada Corporation moving in, as well as some other significant manufacturers. What we're talking about is two things. One is the ability of the industrial base to manufacture the systems that are needed to fight the war we're going to fight tonight or tomorrow. And secondly, we're talking about the industrial base being able to perform maintenance, repair, overhaul, and upgrade of those same systems. And we can't use the practices of yesterday to perform in those key roles in the future. We know what happened in World War II. They took automobile factories and turned them into tank factories. They took automobile factories and turned them into aircraft factories. We can do that. But I will tell you, in my early days in my career in the 70s and 80s, when I went to tour, and I'm not going to name the manufacturers, but toured an aircraft plant, you walked in and they would admire with great pride this monument. That was the big tool that they used for the key processes in there. If you go into a modern aircraft manufacturing plant today, they may have some support equipment, but they don't have the big monuments. Why? Because they've got to be more agile. They've got to be able to speed things up. And that's a step in the right direction. And I'm not saying that things like additive manufacturing, 3D printing, is the secret to solving all problems, but we have to embrace that kind of technology to be able to rapidly respond and ramp up production. Because the idea would be that today, this facility with thousands of employees is making something for the commercial market, but in the future, maybe that thing, I'm talking about in weeks or months, needs to be making something for the defense market. We all know we live in a dangerous world. We can look at what's going on right now. I read with great interest an article, it was about 4 days ago. The House Armed Services Committee has a report that talked about the CRMN, similar to the CRAF, the Commercial Reserve Airlift Fleet. Well, this is the Commercial Reserve Manufacturing Network. And the idea is, with malice of forethought, think about how we are going to take a commercial facility and turn it into a defense purpose. Now, I'm not a war mongerer, but I'm telling you, we need to think about how we're going to engage in those future engagements and be able to rapidly accelerate. I'll close with another thought, and these gentlemen here have heard me talk about this before. There's a concept that is the geography of genius, and I'm a believer in that. There's a book that was written by a guy named Mr. Weiner a few years ago, about 10 years ago, and he talks about the age of the Greek scientists. Well, that happened in the same city back a little bit before Christ. There was in Italy, there was the age of the artists, Michelangelo and the likes, and they were together and they were competing, they were collaborating. Well, that's what I'm seeing going on in Ohio right now, is we're seeing some significant aerospace companies come in, and these companies are collaborating to figure out how they can collectively help the defense of our nation, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Joe.
No, absolutely. And what I hear you really saying is we need a defense manufacturing and defense industrial base that's as flexible as what we want to now demand the acquisition process flexibility to be. And that's going to be, there are challenges on both ends of that, and it's incredibly important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let me turn to Lieutenant General Thompson, again, former commander of Air Force Life Cycle Management Center and commander of Space Systems Acquisition Center, right? So you've acquired for air vehicles, for space vehicles. Give me your thoughts, if you would, sir, about what you see as the ideal industrial ecosystem that supports this industry and our national security needs, and where we need to go with that.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. That's a great question.
Of course.
I will refer back to my friend Mr. Pyatt here and say it's all about partnership. And thinking about that partnership, since we're at an air show, I would characterize it like formation flying, right? So there's going to be some demonstration flying here this week. People are going to be flying in four-ship formations over the flight line. And if you think about formation flying, everybody has to play by the rules. Everybody needs to still, though, remain focused on what's going on in their own aircraft, even though they have a role to play as part of the formation. People need to make sure that there's good communications and coordination within the formation. People need to make sure when they make an adjustment, they make a precise adjustment in an agile manner. People need to have trust in order for the formation to be successful against whatever mission objective it is, right? So if you think about the four-ship formation that is economic development, I look at it, okay, there's state and local communities that need to provide the proper infrastructure, the power, the water, the types of incentive packages that attract businesses to really business-friendly environments. You have to have a workforce in the second ship of the four-ship, right? You have to have a workforce that's not just highly educated scientists and engineers that have advanced degrees. You have to have technicians that can actually do the work and are certified to do that work, right? Places like Ohio, 700,000 veterans across the state. Those 700,000 veterans, whether they have those advanced degrees or whether they're technician qualified, are an able-bodied workforce that knows work ethic, knows how to get stuff done in an industrial environment. The third ship in your formation is really the private entities, the businesses like Sierra Nevada that we've talked about already, but also businesses like Anduril and Joby and GE Aerospace, companies that have all come to Ohio because, hey, we have capital that we need to expend, we're a growing business, we need a workforce, we need the right infrastructure, we need an environment where this works. And then the fourth ship in the formation is the customer. And so in the case of Sierra Nevada, that customer are government program offices, the people that are relying on John and his team to convert commercial derivative aircraft into military applications, things that can do very special communications packages, things that can accomplish their mission for the United States military. That formation has to work really, really well together. As a former customer, I can tell you, I literally spent years of my career getting on an airplane in Dayton, Ohio, and flying to another state to visit my vendor. I know that today, with Sierra Nevada and their MRO facility and the programs that they're running in Dayton, Ohio at the Dayton International Airport, is 10 minutes away from all of their key customers. So there's no, hey, I gotta fly to another state. I gotta get in my car, drive 10 minutes, and I can interact directly with my customer in infrastructure and with a workforce that was there already in Ohio. And so to me, those are the ingredients of an ecosystem that absolutely works, is proven to work, and has a lot of legroom in terms of growing into the future, given the state and local communities in Ohio, the workforce in Ohio, the private entities that want to do either commercial or defense work with customers and have a supply base there, and then the customers who get to see it all integrated in its most effective and efficient way that they possibly can. It's really a tremendous opportunity for us to deliver, as a former government customer, to deliver national security capability to the warfighter, to deliver to contractors the opportunity to work next to their customer and to get direct feedback and integration with them, that synergy that exists there. And for the state of Ohio, and in the case of Sierra Nevada, the Dayton region, it's jobs and prosperity, right? So it's a win-win-win-win situation in that formation flight of an economic development ecosystem.
Yeah, you're spot on, General Thompson. I mean, as an acquisition officer, I remember I was gone, like you, 2 weeks out of every month to my prime on the coast, and then one of those remaining weeks, my prime was gone to a sub, right? And we got effectively a week's worth of work done every month, and that slowed the acquisition process. And what I think you represent here, and what John and Sierra Nevada Corporation really represent, is that changing model. It's an exemplar of a flexible acquisition process that's all based on co-location and proximity of prime to researcher to acquirer that can really speed out the acquisition to our warfighters and the rest of the world. Let me close because I want to make sure you're all on time, because this is a busy air show for everyone. But let me first of all thank each and every one of you for your time here today, because the message is critical, and the message presents an opportunity to expand this notion beyond what we have today. But more importantly, I want to thank you each for what you do every day, because it's absolutely critical, whether it's Sierra Nevada and the products you provide to the warfighter around the world, right? And to get those out on time, on target, with meeting the requirements, meeting the speed and the cost that's required, is absolutely critical. And gentlemen, thank you for what you do and what you have done in the past for our airmen and for all of our military services, and you continue to engage in that, and that means everything to each one of us. So thank you so much for today.
Thanks, Joe.
And for every day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all for being here. We're going to finish up. If there's any press or questions, we'll be over at the Ohio booth. Thank you all very much.